For the second time in 72 hours, head coach Eric Thibault facing off against the Connecticut Sun, this time in Southeast DC at Entertainment Sports Arena. The revelation of the Rebel Edition jersey tonight, unfortunately, not able to get a win tonight. Big numbers from some of your Mystics players. Unfortunately, those numbers were not big enough. Elena Delle Donne leading all Mystics players with 27 points tonight. Big performances out of Shakira Austin, who came back in the game later on in the second half after stepping away. This is Wes Hall with the head coach, Jimmy Patsos. We'll hear from Eric Thibault here in a moment, along with one of your Mystics players courtside with Ariana Freeman. But Coach Patsos, before we bring in everybody, I just want to get your initial thoughts on this game. One of those kind of odd first quarters. Mystics only scored 17. That was the first and third quarter. Second quarter belonged to Washington. But what did you see?
Delle Donne was unbelievable. 27 points, making shots, making passes. It's funny when you coach for a long time. I coached for a long time, 30 years with Gary Williams, but I'm around the women's game a lot because of Brenda Fries and full disclosure. And I'm an Under Armour guy, so I'm happen to be lucky enough to cover South Carolina. Don Staley, who's won a lot of national titles. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. I'm not making excuses. The Mystics played well. Yeah. They had a couple of wide open threes not go in. I had 4 buzzer beaters by the Sun go in, Wes.
Wow.
Like 4 buzzer beaters, and the Mystics had a couple of offensive rebounds just bounced out of the Mystics' hands. Sometimes that's just, there's nothing you can really do. There wasn't anything that the Mystics did really poorly.
Right.
They had 3 really good players step up. Okay, Atkins had a little bit of foul trouble. Natasha Cloud turned it on. And for the Sun, Alyssa Thomas was a force. She had almost a triple-double. Okay, she played really well. Yeah. Bonner, the former SEC Player of the Year from Auburn, she played really well. But it was a really well-played game. There was just a couple of critical times the Mystics couldn't get a stop, but they played good defense. In other words, Coach Thibault's going to go back and watch that tape and say, we had our hand up. That was a tough 3. Hey, we made the extra pass and had a couple of wide-open threes that just went in and out, rimmed in and out. And sometimes that's why you got to be positive and say, we're going to Chicago to play the first place Sky. Yeah. Let's just go beat them on Friday. That's what we can control. But there were a lot of good things done. This isn't like unbiased. I mean, just as a fan watching, it was a great game. But the ball seemed to bounce Connecticut's way tonight.
Yeah, it did. And look, in spite of the ball bouncing their way, Elena Delle Donne,
she was fantastic.
27 points, 7 boards, 4 dimes. She also had a block as well. Did it in 35 minutes. The efficiency that she's had on the court, again, this is her first full healthy offseason that she's come in to play healthy basketball. And we know that she was frustrated on Sunday afternoon about the calls that she did or did not get. Tonight you saw that she was focused on whether it's on the block with turnaround fadeaway jumpers, finding her teammates, facilitating the offense, knocking down big threes. She's ready. It's just a matter of being able to find that next step that can get them back in the win column.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing. I was very impressed with Shakira Austin. Excellent second-year player. I mean, her future's super bright. What a player. Yeah. Sykes, that's when Syracuse went to the Final Four, by the way. Sykes was there. She's a really good player. Maybe Hines Allen, when she comes back, gives him a little more physicality.
Oh, yeah.
Her brother plays for the Jaguars, by the way.
Yeah, that whole family full of athletes. Full of athletes.
She's from Louisville, who got them to the Final Four. In other words, these women have done an amazing job in their other careers, meaning college and overseas. You need them all to come in. This is WNBA. This is a collection of the best players in the world.
Absolutely.
So no one's going to feel sorry for you. You got to have a bench. I think Hines Allen can help. Ariel Atkins, that was just in a one-off. Christy Tolliver had a couple of great looks, bounced in and out. I mean, great rotation, in and out. Got to stay positive, got to build, got to develop your bench. I think Hines Allen coming back will be a big thing. Delle Donne was great tonight. Connecticut Sun's really good, though.
Yeah, that's just a good team. It's a good team, and they've struggled against that team. Matter of fact, after Sunday afternoon's loss, the Mystics have been 1-5 in the last game, now 1-6. So it's completely understandable the challenge that they face, especially whether it's on the road or here at home. But right now, I want to go to courtside to Megan McPeak and Christy Winter-Scott and get their thoughts on what exactly did not go properly for the Mystics this afternoon, ladies.
Well, for me, I just thought that what Jimmy just said, right? It was unlucky. They got the shots that they wanted. They just didn't get them to fall. But I just thought defensively, I think there was more of an issue on the defensive side than the shots that weren't made. I think the defensive pressure needed to be dialed up a little bit more so that they could create easier offense for themselves and get out into the open floor and run a little bit more. 0 fast break points can't be the norm for this team. They have too many quality weapons in terms of the pace of play, and we've seen that. So once you show yourselves, and I used to coach too, so hey, you show yourselves to be that team, so now we're going to hold you to that standard and be consistent with it. And so the last 2 games, only 2 fast break points from Sunday's game. that can't be what Washington is all about in terms of that being their percentage of offense in transition.
I also think, too, on the offensive end, you go back to Sunday, and it was kind of similar here this evening as well. There were times where I felt it was a stagnant offense. There was a lot of ball watching and almost waiting until the double came on Delle Donne or it came on Shakira Austin, and then they were trying to move without the ball. I think when you saw that Friday game, there was a lot more movement without the ball than what we've seen in these two games against Connecticut. But that's also a credit to Stephanie White and her staff in their scouting report from that New York Liberty game and what they wanted to do to try and disrupt what the Mystics were doing. They were doubling Delle Donne on the pass, not on the catch or on the dribble. We saw in that first game Sunday in the first half, they were doubling her on the dribble, and they made that adjustment in the second half, and they kept that adjustment here tonight because it worked for them on the defensive end. But as I said to Christy at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, it's tough to get out in transition when you're sending a team to the free throw line as much as Connecticut got to the line on Sunday and as well here tonight. It's definitely something I think Eric is going to look at in film this week, not to mention it's Tuesday. You don't play until Friday, so you've got a couple of days that you can really work on film and get set for this Chicago Sky team who's led by one Kalia Copper, who still is known as KFC, okay?
Yes.
Megan, I've got a question, and Chrissy, the same thing applies to you as well. The final score was 88-81, a difference in 7 points. And then I'm looking at the box score. I see the 7 points is all the Mystics had off the bench tonight, with Tiana Hawkins having 6 of them in comparison to the 13 that Connecticut had. How did this Mystics team find a way to get more productivity out of those bench players? Because Connecticut starters, the starters for the Mystics as well, those are fine, but they've got to get more out of it. How do they do it, Christy?
Well, we saw last year they were 5th in the WNBA with 28% of their offense coming from their bench. So they're going to need to just stay ready. That's all I can say. They have the quality, they have the skill set to be able to operate in an epic way, but they've got to bring that energy on the defensive end. I think that's where it starts, and they've got to change that before they head to Chicago.
And guys, I think we've got Eric Thibault live at the postgame podium, so let's hear what Coach has to say, in fact.